Hello there and welcome again to another wonderful day and another wonderful podcast introducing a writer to our team. They obviously being it, several weeks in now, it is not really a new writer, but a writer to our team, and so you guys get to know a little bit more behind the words. And of course, as always, I am joined by the very sexy, the very enigmatic, the larger than life and also large character that is John Parker. How are you, John?
Oh my God, I'm well, mate. I'm well. I was half expecting you to say someone else's name then. I was kind of waiting for who's Dan talking about. I'm sitting here, but nobody else is.
Exactly.
But no, thank you very much for that wonderful intro, mate. I'm overwhelmed by it, really. Hey, overwhelmed.
I care for you, man. I want to give you, the introduction you deserve, man.
Oh, God bless you, pal. God bless you. We're all heart here, mate. We're all heart here, and we're very lucky to be joined by another fellow Brit, but a Brit that we've been discussing before the podcast that we're very jealous of. Do you want to introduce him, Dan?
I'm not sure if I do, John.
just don't want to.
I'm very upset by the whole situation. But for those who don't know, because obviously we can have conversations before podcasts all we like, and no one else knows what the hell's going on. But this is one of our lucky writers, we'll call them, in one that it actually is living out in the United States of America and, enjoying life as a MLS fan from Britain. And note, we keep saying Britain, not England, because this lad is not from England. He is actually from... I was going to do an accent, but I thought I'm not going to risk it, not with an actual Scot on the other end of the phone.
We canny do a Scottish accent.
No, canny do it, man. This guy is from bonny old Scotland. So I will introduce you then all to Andrew Watson, who is obviously writing for the I can't think of a non-insulting way of calling them, the brilliant Chivas USA. So firstly, introduce yourself, Andrew. Who are you, what do you do, and what are you looking for in a date?
Oh no, I'm definitely not looking for a date. Great to be finally speak to you guys. It's been a long time since we've kind of got in touch over the internet, so it's great to be finally having a proper chat.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you on the other end too. I mean, we've been avidly reading all your stuff, and it's nice for us, as a site, to be able to have people that are actually at the games and, can actually have feedback with actual, other fans, face to face. And how have you been finding it? You must be like a celebrity in Chivas now.
Well, not quite, but it's certainly been a different year now that I'm actually out here, going to the games and writing stuff. I've had a great reception from people reading the articles, especially, for the whole website as well. But yeah, it's been great, speaking to a lot more Chivas USA fans now, and it's not always a great thing being a Chivas USA fan, but it's definitely exciting now that I'm actually out here and going to games and seeing them in the flesh,
Yeah, definitely. So, well, firstly...
I'm jealous.
Yeah, very jealous. Firstly, though, bring us to how you sort of got into soccer in general, and then how did you end up following MLS and ended up actually in California and supporting Chivas?
Well, it's a funny story. It's when it was actually, I think it was 2007, 2008. The Scottish team that supports Celtic were playing Chivas de Guadalajara, the Mexican side, in a friendly.
Yeah.
A few of us stayed up late, got together to watch the game, had a bottle of tequila, as you do see as the Mexican side. Looked them up online and found out they had a sister club, if you will, in MLS, Chivas USA. So kind of started keeping an eye out for the results here and there. Took a kind of small interest in MLS, but it wasn't really until I actually met this girl in Ecuador who was actually a Chivas USA fan, which was a massive coincidence.
Yeah.
Got together, and then I'm out here now staying with her, and we're now season ticket holders of Chivas USA. So definitely a weird one, but it turned out pretty well for me.
It's
not a fantastic story.
Yeah, not your normal soccer story, is it?
Yeah. But yeah, it's at first it was just a kind of slight interest I took. Then I met Ern. Kind of took more of an interest in Chivas USA. But then this year especially, it's now writing articles for them, going to the games. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So obviously you grew up around, Scottish football, soccer, as we're going to call it through the duration of this, because otherwise they're going to think we're talking about handball.
Yeah.
So, growing up around Scottish soccer, how have you found the switch, and how have you found the differences in, club atmosphere, even club access? Because obviously, MLS clubs are a lot more open in terms of the public getting in contact with the clubs and stuff. So how have you found the switch between supporting obviously a massive Scottish club in Celtic to Chivas USA?
It's been great. It's actually been quite a good refreshing change from Scottish football. Especially being a Celtic fan. You kind of grow up with all the drama, what goes on with Celtic and Rangers, and all that nonsense basically.
Yeah.
But that's one of these as well. I love MLS just because it's different, and certainly looking at MLS and Chivas USA, the standard is better. You hear a lot of people actually trying to compare MLS and SPL. Is it better? Obviously it's better than a lot of the bigger leagues out there like the English Premier League and La Liga and Serie A. So a lot of people do compare it to the SPL, but to be honest, it's far better. The quality is far better. But like you said, it's a lot more open as well. It's just a totally different experience, but it's one that I love. So it's definitely a refreshing change. I'll say that.
You appear to have a dog trying to escape in the background by the sounds of it.
Yeah. I've intentionally upstairs to hide from the dog. So.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, what we were going to ask you, Andy, actually, was because obviously one of the first articles you ever wrote for MLS UK was, I think it was titled something like "Supporting LA's Other Team."
Yeah.
So obviously you've got the formidable Galaxy and current champions just the other side there. I mean, what's that like? Sort of obviously because you guys share a stadium, don't you? Now is that the gist of it? And
yeah.
What's that sort of rivalry like? Is there quite an intense rivalry there? Or is that sort of a comparative thing to Celtic Rangers?
Well, yeah, there is. It's obviously not on the same scale as that, but there's definitely a good rivalry there. Like as you mentioned that kind of article I wrote there about supporting LA's other team. People don't even realise that. One, that Chivas USA might even exist, but two, that they're actually from Los Angeles as well. We do indeed share a stadium with LA Galaxy. People don't even realise that. So, and to be fair, there's a lot of the LA Galaxy fans kind of look down on us Chivas USA supporters. As this kind of smaller team from LA. Obviously, with all their success last year as well, they've had the kind of bragging rights. But at the moment, we're sitting on the same amount of points as them in the Western Conference, so they can't go up too much yet this season.
Yeah, definitely. With your two teams, as we'll say, are somewhat polar opposites in the sense that obviously, Celtic is always, obviously in Scotland it is always going to be either Celtic or Rangers. Yet, you've chosen a club that in American soccer isn't exactly the most prolific club in the world, are they? They're not. I mean,
No.
I'm trying to find actually where they actually finished last year, but it wasn't particularly impressive. I mean, Revs probably close a lot of the time.
Oh my God! I knew you were going to bring this up, Dan. I knew you were going to bring this up. Chivas finished above Revs. All right, let's just put that elephant in the room out there now. Let's put the elephant down. But yeah, it's kind of, I think, like me and Andy have been bonding, obviously, over the sort of misery of supporting both our teams, and we actually had a nice little run there for a while, didn't we, mate? Where we were guessing on the results, and we got a couple of wins in there, which was fantastic.
Yeah, good predictions, yeah.
Yeah, but my question was how have you found the difference though between supporting a club that you're expecting to win virtually every game to supporting a club that's you're not necessarily expecting to win, you're expecting them to fight and scrap and pick up points where and when they can, but not necessarily perform on every occasion. How are you finding that difference between the glory and the misery, I suppose?
Yeah, no, it's exactly that. It's great, it's actually quite a good change, Obviously, like you said, being a Celtic fan, you can expect them to win every single week, and if they don't, there's practically chaos in the streets if they don't. But with Chivas USA, it's you're not guaranteed anything every single week, and it's actually good, it brings a different kind of level of excitement to supporting a club like Celtic. But like I said, earlier on, it's a kind of refreshing change from Scottish football and everything that goes on there. So, but it's definitely a different experience. I'll say that.
I grew up watching, Russian and Diamonds, R.I.P. So I'm sort of, that feeling of a team that you're not expecting to win all the time and often expecting to lose. Do you think it makes that, the victories you do get? Do you think it makes them that much more special?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like it was a few weeks ago when we won away to Real Salt Lake. We won 1-0 away from home. We had to defend every man behind the ball for at least, like this the whole of the second half. And when the final whistle went, we were celebrating like we'd won the Ameriscot. We were jumping around, there was drinks spilled. It was crazy. And then I thought, like, you see Celtic win, for example. Of course I'm happy, but it wasn't like the celebrations we had that day. And that was just a 1-0 away win at the start of the season. So yeah, definitely makes things more exciting when you're not expected to win every week.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you find? I mean, obviously away games. You talk about them sort of nonchalantly as a British football fan, and in Scotland as well. The away game is a 2-hour trip at most. Really, you're kind of driving a bit. The longest one in English is something like Newcastle to Southampton or something, isn't it? But that the away games are nothing like away games in America. How do you find that? Because obviously you can't watch an away game at the ground unless you're loaded. So how have you found? Because the atmosphere, obviously, there isn't an away presence at that much, that many games. So how is it in the stadium on a home game? Do you think the atmosphere inside the stadium is so much more important because of that factor?
Oh no, yeah, definitely. Because, for example, with the Chivas USA, I think our closest away game, obviously apart from LA Galaxy, but we're within the same city, but is San Jose. But it's still a 6-hour drive to San Jose.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's a bit frustrating not being able to go and kind of support at the away games. But yeah, the atmosphere at home, it certainly makes up for it. The fans who can't get out to the away games, they do make up for it at the home games. That's one of the actual kind of frustrating things about being a Chivas USA fan. Because to be honest, one thing I've noticed since I came out here was that a lot of the people tend to kind of look down on Chivas USA and give them a bit of a hard time for not being a well supported club. But after going to all the home games this season so far, it's definitely not like that. There's a great support there at home, a great atmosphere at the Home Depot Centre.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. You're always going to have more fans than Revs, so that's fine.
Unbelievable, Jeff. I mean, one thing that is always raised whenever we talk about Chivas, actually, and this was something that really made me laugh last year, was that the whole goat thing, Andy, is I just think that's wonderful. And I mean, can you give us sort of a bit of context about what is the fascination with goats? What's the whole thing with Chivas?
Well, with going back to the kind of their sister club, Chivas de Guadalajara, their nickname is the Goats. With the Chivas being the Spanish word for goat there. And they've taken that over to kind of Chivas USA, so it's essentially Goats USA, and it's crazy. Like I'm actually sitting in a room here and I've realised that there's actually a goat's skull sitting on the shelf here.
As you do.
Yeah, I've definitely taken it to the extremes, but it's the mascot's a goat there. We've got people. Everyone's got crazy goat tattoos. It's definitely something different with this club.
I love the Fear the Goat hashtag. That's one of my my favourite things on Twitter, I think.
And you did just make out a little bit like you might be into black magic as well. So I'm certainly gonna fear the goat a lot more nowadays, considering the skull in your house. But yeah, I mean, how apart from anything, we'll sort of start to bring it in to a close. I mean, how are you finding the season so far, and being a part of MLS UK?
The season, what did you say? It's the same old for Chivas USA. Basically, it's frustrating to say the least. We've had 4 home games, each of them being a 1-0 defeat. Then we've had 3 away games that we've won each of those games by a 1-goal margin. So it's been tough, especially with the games coming up as well. I think it's home, then we're away, then we're home, then we're away. So I think that record's going to be kind of continuing for a while now. But I think at the start of the season, you had asked me, if we had 9 points, we were kind of tied with the Rapids and the Galaxy in the Western Conference. I think I would have taken it. It's been a decent start so far, for Chivas. But writing for MLS UK has been great. I never imagined, before this season. I always said, this year was going to be the year that I'd get, really in MLS. So, just by chance finding you guys on Twitter and writing for the site's been amazing. I'm loving it so far.
Brilliant. Well,
fantastic. We're glad to have you, mate.
Yeah, very, very glad. And it's great to be able to have that extra perspective of actually being there and getting involved. You're gonna have to try and get some access to players now, and go and bother them on a daily basis.
Go and bang the dressing room door down and be like, get some exclusive interviews, Andy.
Yeah, just don't go in shouting because God, they'll hear a Scottish accent and absolutely run for cover. They'll be like, "What the bloody hell's going on?"
Yeah, like I said before, I definitely have to tone it down, but I'm working on it. Hopefully get some interviews soon for you guys. So
that'll be brilliant.
Wonderful,
brilliant.
Wonderful.
Well, John, unless you've got any more questions, you feel like you.
Well, actually, I was just going to sort of ask Andy a little bit. Sort of, obviously, he's got he's there. He's amongst the people. He's there with the knowledge. Sort of, if you could look into your mystic ball, Andy, and sort of pick who you think is going to be in the LMS Cup. I'll say that again. In the MLS Cup this year, who do you think is going to be there?
You can't really ignore the start that you're looking at Sporting Kansas City and the Real Salt Lake have made. I know at the moment the Earthquakes are, I think they're top of the Western Conference just now, but what a start those two teams have made. So I'd imagine they'd be going for that kind of cup final. But to be honest, it's still early yet, and you can't write off teams like LA Galaxy and the Red Bulls. But yeah, I think my tip would be I think it would be Sporting Kansas City I'd go for this year. I'm never going to write Chivas, Chivas off. So I'm just hoping for that playoff place first.
Yeah, definitely. You got to live in hope, haven't you?
This is where I'm living this year.
Yeah, John
just
can't help
hoping that the Revs don't finish bottom again. That would be wonderful. Second bottom would be great right now.
Yeah, you'd love that. Each year, John's hoping for that little step extra, and then so in the however many years' time, he can actually win a cup. Or win.
We've just got the first EP. If we get 10 more fans each season, then we'll be building. And then if we go up sort of a place in the league every 10 years, it'll be great. So we're hoping for that.
Yeah, it'll be perfect, John.
That's my 10-year plan for the Revs to be third bottom in a couple of years.
It's going to be great for you. It's going to be great. And then when they start adding new teams.
Mine is exactly the same. I think it was 8 Chivas finished last year. So anything better than that is it's a steady improvement for us.
Yeah.
Take that.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to take them as they come, and I'm the same. I'm hoping for a proper playoff place this time as Columbus rather than a wild card, since there aren't actually any wild cards this year, which will be interesting. So, but yeah, Andy, thank you very much for chatting to us, and I'm sure we'll chat to you again later on in the season to get a bit of an update on how things are going. How much you've been crying at nights because of Chivas and the such. And yes, John, as always, it's been great chatting to you.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, mate. It's always a pleasure. Just quickly before we go, I feel like we should tell everyone where to find Andy on Twitter if they don't already know.
I nearly forgot that bit.
It's so they can find you. Is it at Andy V Watson? I believe, is that the one, Andy?
Yep, that's the one. That's it.
That's him. And then you also write for, you're a very busy man, which is what I love. You also write for, is it Total MLS? And you also write for MLS Feeder, is it?
Yeah, for at Total MLS and at MLS Filter as well, yeah. So I'm keeping myself busy with those sites as well.
Yeah, good times.
But the man is in demand. We love
that.
that.
Cool. He'll be writing for the actual site soon, won't he? Cool.
Well, we're so honoured to have you involved in the site, mate. We really are. So thank you very much for doing that, and thank you for taking the time to join us on the podcast today.
No, it's great to be on board, and it's great to finally chatting to you guys as well.
Thank you again for being involved, Andy, and that's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from John. And of course, you can find us both on Twitter as well, as you should already know, really. You can contact us, the site, on @MLS_UK. And you can contact John on @GuitarSpoons. That's all one word, just Guitar Spoons. Don't ask him why. And you can, of course, contact me as @DannyB90, and we shall see you all again.
What about the site, Dan? What about the
Oh,
site?
and of course, you can actually go. If you're, in fairness, you're probably on the site to find this anyway. So I would hope.
Probably are, but
I would
just like
hope.
to say it.
But if not, you can always find us on www.ukmajorleaguesoccer.com, and that is the site for the perspective on Major League Soccer from across the pond, and of course, Brits, your side of the pond, as Andy is showing you now. But so thank you again, everybody, and we shall see you again soon, or speak at you again soon. All right, everybody, thank you and goodbye.
Bye-bye!